What's Trending is presented by Feastbox, donating 10% of every order to Full of Hope, a charitable organization that feeds hungry families. BYU and Kansas match up for the Cougars' first ever Big 12 football game. Both undefeated, seeking that first conference win of the year, Shep. So which side of the ball does BYU need to step up to win against Kansas?
I feel bad saying this because I don't necessarily feel like this side needs to step up. Based off of the first 3 weeks, I think the defense
Special teams,
has
how about you?
more than stepped up
Yeah.
and did its part in all 3 games. So in a way, I'm slightly going to change how I answer the question.
Okay.
I think the side that's the most important to me is the defense.
That's not what the graphic says, Shep.
Because I have maintained that the key to this game is going to be containing Jalen Daniels. He is such a dynamic quarterback, and it's very similar to what we saw with KJ Jefferson. However, significantly smaller. KJ Jefferson's 250, and Jalen Daniels, I think, is what, 210?
Like a normal human size.
Yeah,
KJ is extraordinarily big.
He's far more nimble and quicker.
Yes.
And honestly, I think he's the most dynamic quarterback that BYU will face this entire season.
I agree.
So, and he's the preseason Big 12 guy. So for me, it's all about containing him or keeping him in check. The other part about this is, and I go back to the Arkansas win, in that game, obviously Arkansas was without Rocket Sanders. That will not be the case this week where Kansas is without their number 1 running back, and that's Devin Neal, and he is every bit a problem. And they run the ball extremely well. As a team, they average more than 200 yards of rushing on the ground per game so far in the first 3 games. So I think what BYU can do defensively is going to go a long way in picking up that win. The other part about it is defensively, and I think you guys talked about this earlier in the week, Kansas is insanely good on 3rd down. They are number 3 nationally, converting 63% of their 3rd downs. And if you say, okay, well, maybe this is just a really hot start, and they've done this in 3 games, they did this last year too. They finished last year 8th nationally in 2022. So this is what this defense has done under head coach Lance Leipold. So I think for me, it's not necessarily that I think the defense needs to step up because I think they've done that. I just think that side of the ball, I think that's almost the most important side because it's all about keeping that offense in check.
Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator for Kansas, has done a tremendous job last year, this year. They're putting up 500 yards a game and 37 points. That is going to be tough to slow. Now, maybe you can look at the competition and go, well, wait a minute. Illinois and Nevada, not the strongest. Illinois is okay Big Ten team. Nevada lost to Idaho. So you kind of look at the Nevada game and go, wait a minute. But Idaho challenged Arizona State. Granted, Arizona State has been tough. I'm going to go with the offense. I see your defense. Let's talk offense. If the defense doesn't slow down Kansas, then the offense has got to keep up in a shootout. Can they do it is the question. Now, the BYU offense has been better than I thought given the rushing numbers. Like if you just look at the rushing numbers for BYU, 124th in the country at 2.7 yards per carry. That is terrible. Yet BYU's 3-0. So BYU's kind of winning in spite of that. The success rate is not good enough. Success rate is a stat that I think everybody should learn about. That is, and there are various ways of looking at it. The one I like the most is that you get 40% of the yards needed on first, basically 4 yards out of 10, right? 50% of what's left on second, and 100 on third, meaning you convert. BYU's rate is 38.5% right now. That is not good enough. The stuff rate on rushing, that is, you rush for 1 yard or less with 2+ to go, is 45%. The national average is 30%. BYU's not good enough in running the ball. Yet, BYU put up 38 points. Yet, BYU put up 41 points the week before on very few plays, sub 60 plays in both weeks. That's because the Cougars are getting yards, a lot of them, on the points they score. 6th in the country, as I mentioned, 10 yards per point. That's because special teams with short fields have done amazing, and the defense, as you mentioned, has been way better than we thought. I don't know what kind of improvement we were hoping for up to this point, but it is way beyond what I thought, and it's been incredible because it has set up the offense in a way to punch it in. BYU does, however, need to hang with one of the best offenses, as you mentioned. Kansas averages 34 minutes of possession. They keep the ball and they move the chains. Will BYU have enough possessions, enough plays to continue to put up 38? They've shown us that they can when it's sub 60 plays, but Kansas moves the chains, Shep, 22nd in the country. They've only punted 4 times.
I know.
That is the fewest in the country. Do you know who has punted the most?
I do not.
One Brigham Young University.
Really?
It doesn't help when you punt 9 times, multiple
pretty good punter,
games,
though.
whatever. But is punting the worst thing right now, given the way the defense is played and Ryan Rico. So this is going to need to be a complete game for BYU. I would argue that BYU had a complete game against Arkansas. Defensively played well. Special teams obviously gave up a punt return in the fake, but they did enough in the other areas. By the way, special teams is making up for some of the crazy plays. 2 fakes that haven't gone well, a blocked kick that was an offside. There was a delay of game on the fake field goal. Like twice it's gone really bad, but there was a penalty, the punt return. But Ryan Rico's been amazing. Marcus McKenzie and Jacob Bourne, by the way, double teamed by Arkansas. And BYU
they saw what happened in the previous 2 weeks.
You forget about Jacob Bourne, too. That guy's extremely fast. So you say defense, I say offense. Maybe the real answer is special teams.
It could
Maybe
be.
It comes down to Will Farron in a field goal or a Ryan Rico pin him back situation. I just think it's going to need to be a complete game to beat a much improved Kansas team from 2 years ago.
I 100% agree, and I want to follow up on what you were talking about in terms of the offense. And I think that, you brought up the point that, look, the first game, 14 points, that's certainly, everybody expected more than that. But then you had the 41 against Southern Utah, 38 against Arkansas. And I don't know if anybody even associated with the offense would say that they feel like they've played great to this point.
They have not.
There's still far more that they expect of themselves, so that when this offense really does get clicking, and I think a lot of that probably comes with more of an established run game, because then it takes pressure off of what Keaton Slovis and the passing game has to do. It also keeps defenses a little bit more honest when they have to, keep in close to stop or slow down the rushing attack. So there's still a lot of areas where that can get better, but yet BYU's still 3-0. BYU still has been able to score points in bunches and on big plays as well. And when given the opportunity in the red zone, BYU has been able to get touchdowns
9 of 10
instead of field goals. That is so crucial in helping a team when you get the opportunity to get that close to the end zone, to punch it in for 6 and not have to settle for 3.
Punch it, Chewy. Let's go, man. Defenses, be honest in your dealings. Let's go. Our question of the day. Which side of the ball does BYU need to step up the most against Kansas? It's our Kansas and now Kansas. Jesse Evans on Facebook. I have to go with defense. I felt after the Sam Houston game, we were softer against Southern Utah. If we slide back again after doing great at Arkansas, it will be a long game. After watching Nevada move the ball on KU, I'm not too concerned about us making plays when we need to offensively, but I think the key to win this will be defense. What kind of game do you see? Because I see 2 kind of games. I see BYU getting 35+ in this game, in both scenarios in my mind. But in one of them, the defense holds Kansas to like 27 and BYU scores 41. In another, it's a shootout in the 40s for both teams. Last week, I did not see a game outside of the 20s for both teams. No, it ended up being in the 30s. I am up for being wrong when BYU wins every time. But what kind of game do you see?
Honestly, and I think the defense could play really well and Kansas could still score in the mid-20s or close to 30.
Well, did the defense not play well last week?
Yes.
31 was on the board, but I've said 21 by the defense.
Right. Yeah. So, I think both teams are going to be able to score. And this offense for Kansas, they're dynamic because of their quarterback. We mentioned Devin Neal and the ability to run the ball. But the engine that makes that offense go is Jalen Daniels. And the reason why he is so dynamic is he is by far the most, I don't mean, look, and I granted, so I watch, obviously, Chiefs fan, so watch a lot of Mahomes. Now, I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes.
Just Kansas City stuff here.
No.
Jayhawks.
No. But my point with this is, like Mahomes, you can never think that you've got him. And it's the same with Jalen Daniels.
Yeah.
When you think the play is done and you've got him, he's got another move to make to keep the play alive. And I think that's why they've been so good and so efficient, is because he's constantly giving the rest of his team opportunities to get into a better position. Let's say that route's covered. Okay, well, now he starts to scramble, then you've got the scramble drill, or there's your plan B, there's your backup plan, and he just keeps plays alive. And until he's down, that play is not over.
Yeah.
And so I think he's going to find ways to keep plays alive. The other thing is, too, one of the reasons I think that they're so good on third down and have such a high conversion rate is because they are picking up decent yards on first and second.
Their success rate is
yes,
good.
I'm not saying that they're not getting in third and long and still converting those, but they're consistently picking up yards on first and second down so that they have options on third, and then they've shown that they can convert those.
Can BYU's defensive success rate be good to where you're setting up a third and long?
I think it can.
If you can get pressure with 4, which is what we saw from BYU's defensive line, we have begged for that for a while now, and the BYU defense has responded to this new scheme in J-Hill. It's been awesome. Derek Polson on X. The offense is the side of the ball that needs to step up the most against Kansas. Key to winning this game will be going on extended drives to keep the KU offense off the field, need to establish the run early, and stay balanced. BYU does not have a drive of 5+ minutes this season, and I don't think they have too many of 10+ plays. It's been 2 drives, TD drives of 10+ plays, and none 5 minutes or more. So can BYU sustain some drives? You just have to be able to run the ball more effectively.
That's where the running game comes in.
Yeah, like, can BYU run the ball effectively? Yes is the answer. We just have not seen it very well. Is this the week? Kansas has 28 TFLs. They get in the backfield. That is the most shocking defensive stat we could throw at you for Kansas, who last year relied on the offense to win, and Jalen Daniels, and he got hurt, and they struggled after he got hurt. They started 5-0. Game day was there. They took it, were playing TCU well. In the end, that was a loss when Daniels got hurt. And so it's going to be interesting. As a guy who grew up in Missouri, Kansas football stunk for a long time. Mm-hmm. Now they're back. What's sort of the perception when you were like growing up of like, Jayhawk football exists, but this is a basketball school? Now they're making waves in football.
Yeah, I was there. We moved to Utah when I was 13. So, I was younger.
As a 9-year-old, what was your perception of Jayhawk football?
Well, but I can tell you, because obviously I still have connections back there. My family, the Shepherd side of my family, all still live in Missouri. So I'm back there.
Shout out to the fam. What's up?
Shout out to the family. So I'm back there all the time. I listen to a lot of sports radio in Kansas City to get my Chiefs fix.
Yep.
So it was never a big deal. Kansas has always been a basketball school. Even with what the football side has done, it is still a basketball school. Kansas basketball is still the biggest brand in that area. The difference maybe there versus what we have here from a football standpoint is Kansas City is by far a pro city.
Yes.
It is a professional city. You've got the Chiefs, you've got the Kansas City Royals, even though they lose 100 games every year.
Yeah.
You've got Sporting KC, now you've got the NWSL team that's there as well. It is the current
Hall of Fame is there, which is cool.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it is by far, they pay more attention to the pros than they do college. And again, not to say that they don't pay attention to it, but it is not as big of a deal as it is out here where this is our local football.
Yes, even though 45 minutes away there's the Jazz and whatnot. If Salt Lake had an NFL team before BYU's ascension maybe in the 80s, maybe that'd be the comparison there?
Yes, but Kansas is still, look, Coach Leipold has done a fantastic job, and they are on the right track. There's no question about it. But Kansas, still a basketball school.
Lance Leipold told us a cool story at Big 12 Media Day, something about, I think Lavelle sent him a letter in high school or something. Recruiting him, which was super cool. The legacy of Lavelle continues to spill out. Continue to weigh in on X, Facebook, and Instagram.